Good day, everyone. I am Matt Harrison, and you are listening to the Geary Cast, the Malaga fan podcast for all the Gearys out there. Death, taxes, and Malaga drawing a game of football. Of course, this past weekend saw Malaga draw 0-0 at Burgos. After that stalemate at El Plantillo, Malaga now apparently have raked up the most draws of any professional club in Europe, with a 1 point love in total of 12 draws in 19 league games this season. Is this latest 0-0, the third in the past 6 games for Malaga, a cause for concern, or should we be impressed with our defence, who have slowly begun to refine their defensive mojo and keeping the score at 0 once again? And speaking of 0-0, let me introduce my Geary Cast co-hosts. As you've probably noticed, there is 0 of them. Yes, I am riding solo tonight, a bit like Jason Derulo. I think it's Jason Derulo's riding solo. Forgive me, fans of that song or Jason Derulo, if I've got that wrong, but I'm pretty sure it was him. You'll see already getting down with the kids with that one. Anyway, in this case, in case this is the first time you're listening, there is usually a collective of us, but with it being the most wonderful time of the year, people are busy, it's winter, people getting sick, and other circumstances are just meaning people are generally unavailable and things like work. So it's just me tonight. We thought we'd try to ensure in this sort of build up to Christmas that you do get some sort of Geary Cast fix. We'll have everyone back soon, thankfully and hopefully. But for now, I'm going to soldier on and bring you the latest news from Malaga Club de Football and talk about this past weekend's 0-0 draw with Burgos. So, I'm going to be trying to go solo tonight. A bit like Robbie and Take That, or who else did solo? Actually, probably more like who's come out of a band. Actually, I'm going to make a Welsh reference. More like Kelly Jones when he does his little solo tours, because hopefully, I'm going to be trying to do the same thing I do with my group, which I guess means the lads are the Stereophonics. It's very Welsh. I've gone very Welsh already. You can tell I've hijacked this. But I'm going to try and do the same things because Kelly Jones does Stereophonic stuff usually. I don't know. Maybe this is my Mark Goldridge moment. Maybe I am going to go on to YouTube stardom with tonight's solo effort, but I hope not. I'm happy to have the lads with me, and they will be back soon. I did have this weird thing about should I make a joke trying to do voices and do impressions of them at the start, but I'm really bad at impressions, and I feel like if I attempted Chris Marquez's Spanish Dutch hybrid accent, I'd be offending a lot of people there, and actually the same for if I attempted the others, and I'd probably be banned from entering Lancashire or Yorkshire again. And also I should say, speaking of Lancashire and Yorkshire, we do have some snippets from Luke and Nick tonight to intersperse throughout this recording, just to get their insight, of course, but probably to give me a bit of a breather, because this might be a bit of an effort. So I will try as well. There's no one to sort of ground me or filter me already. I've somehow brought up the Stereophonics. We're only a minute or so in, so I'll try not to do some, long speech about what I do. Kevin's the obvious one, isn't it? I don't really have much Kevin stuff to say tonight. I don't really need to say his name, so let's push him aside, as that's one filter I'll try and put on myself now. I'll try not to talk about, lower league ground hopping in Spain, but I know the lads like that, but maybe something on that a little bit later. But basically what I'm trying to say is please bear with me for this podcast. It'll be something a bit different. I doubt it's going to be as insightful, but I will battle on and try to get down to business as normal. And let's start with business and talk about some shifty business, because Nastic's accusations, we're going to talk about them again, which have been directed at Malaga, saying there was shifty business going on in the playoff final, and the ref was influenced, and Malaga are a disgrace, and our authorities have got involved allegedly. It's all a bit nonsense, really. So I just thought we'd just follow up that story, because a few other people have given their reaction to those allegations. First of all, I'll start with Quique Perez, who of course is sporting director at the club. He basically laughed it off, I think, as everyone did. His quote, I think it was when he was on Area Malaguista this week, where I think he said quite a lot on that show this week. He said, "It is something totally incredible. I respect that everyone goes to court to protest their rights, but we as a club understand that it is a way of tarnishing a historic feat." I'm very surprised and very sad. Nobody has contacted us. Nobody has said anything to us. We were having dinner with the team. We were concentrated with the team until the time of the match away at Tarragona. Nobody from Malaga was there. So I think we all believe them there. It does feel like the most toys out of the pram allegations and accusations ever. We should say as well that Comité Técnico de Árbitros, the sort of committee of referees, I guess, they've dismissed the accusations and sort of said like there's no evidence and it's all nonsense. And of course, if there's one man you should listen to, I think anyone that's listened to this podcast over the past 18 months, if there's one man to listen to, it's Alfonso Herrero, who also said that he found it funny. If someone questions what happened in those 90 minutes, I always say it every time I'm asked. That match, I don't know what happened. Someone came down to see us, so that it happened the way it did. I find it very difficult to fix a match that is won in the last second in the way it was won, when that match was practically lost and we were in the Primera FA. Exactly. They had the ball in their park. Obviously they had 10 men. They were 2 goals up. There was... well, they did literally have the ball in their park, didn't they? The problem was they didn't have a ball in their park. They had about 10 on the pitch disrupting play. So, yes, I think we've covered it on this podcast enough now. But, a bit of a farce of a night, really, for Tarragona, not Malaga. We had a lovely time. As I put on my social media today, there was a thing in The Guardian this morning where readers sent in their best sort of holiday discoveries of 2024, which are always things which are a bit more niche and perhaps less well known. And the winning choice was Tarragona by some reader that did speak very glowingly about what is a lovely little town. And yeah, can't say I like the football team, but I had a lovely time there. And we'll stick in Tarragona actually for the next bit of news, because there is a commemorative T-shirt being released just before Christmas it's a white T-shirt, 122 as like a badge, and then an image on the back of sort of an illustration of Antonito scoring the goal with some sort of, I don't know, it looks like I think it's meant to look like a fortune teller's ball, the una gitana and all that. The artwork's by Jose Luis Puche. I'll be honest with you, in our WhatsApp groups, it's not got a lot of love. I actually think it's quite cool. I don't actually mind it. I would, €25, I might actually get it. I'm not going to, queue around the block to get it. But if I saw it in front of me in the shop, I think I'd get it for €25. Less keen on the snowflake shirt, which the club is going to warm up in tomorrow, I think. It's like a light blue shirt with snowflakes on, of course, meant to be a tribute to Christmas, I'm guessing. I don't think it's a tribute to wokeness. But apparently they're going to raffle those shirts off. I'm less keen on that one, but that will be worn ahead of the game against Eldense tomorrow night, because I'm recording this on the Tuesday. We don't have a preview for Eldense, but we'll try and do something reviewing that game, and of course the game that's coming up on the weekend when we go north to Sporting Gijón. Speaking of going north, Malaga are going north with their contract offers, contract offer, really. The story of Antonito's transfer or, lack of signing a new contract continues. And again, we'll go to Quique Perez, who was on Area Malaguista earlier in the week. He has come out and said that they have offered Antonito a much improved contract. I've read a couple of reports saying that it's the highest salary of anyone at the club at the moment. But then I think Quique Perez said it's close to the highest earners. To be honest with you, is that going to sway Antonito? My feeling at the moment is not. Quique Perez in that interview said he was optimistic about him signing a new deal, and then sort of backtracked a bit by saying, when I say that I'm optimistic, it means that the situation is open. The boy is happy, but anything can happen because it's football. I say this from my experience. So yeah, that optimism section did sort of plummet. I think we talked on the podcast enough now that I'm almost certain he's going to go. He won't be here next summer unless it is that sort of loan move, return on loan thing. But Barcelona's name is cropping up a lot at the moment, so I can see him being there in January, and then fingers crossed he comes back on loan. And then speaking of well, there's not much to say about this one really, but I thought I'd throw it in there because Kike Perez in the same interview mentioned that speaking of our young wingers, perhaps one we got more excited about than Antonito. I'm almost certain the others would agree with me there. That's the problem tonight. I'm going to speak for them a lot when I probably shouldn't, but I'm pretty certain we all found Haitam a more exciting winger than Antonito, especially after a couple of performances in the first half of last season, including that epic goal against Ibiza. But apparently he's going to be sent out on loan, or there's clubs in the Primera Federación that are looking to sign him on loan. It's a little bit of a strange one. I think we discussed on the podcast already, but I'm all in favor of it. I think a change of scenery would do him good. I think he's got connections. I think he's got connections to Catalunya. Maybe he could go back to Nastic and, just let it go, Nastic. Get, have our boy for a bit and shut your mouths. Anyway, the other interesting bit of news this week is, I think we touched upon it last week, and I think it'd been confirmed last time we spoke about it, but it's 100% confirmed. Marbella will be playing Atletico Madrid in the Copa del Rey third round, I think. Well, in the next round of the Copa del Rey, the last 32, and it'll be at La Rosaleda on the 4th of January, which is a Saturday night. Forgive me, I think it's 9 p.m., but it might be a bit later. I can't remember if it's 9:15 or 9:30, but it's certainly in that ballpark. And the exciting things for Malaga fans is that season ticket holders of Malaga can go to the game for half price. So I think, well, I'd say half price compared to what they're offering the general public for entry to that game. There was sort of, I think, like ticket where we usually sit in Fondo Sur is about 15 euros. There's some of them going up to around 20. It's all, I personally think, like, I think there'll be a good crowd there because, like, obviously, I think Marbella will take more fans than people realize. I know, like, people down here that support Atleti, people I work with, and they're sort of, their whole families are going, and there must be an Atleti supporters club somewhere on the Costa del Sol, which I'm sure would be up for getting down there. And then, I think Malaga fans will just go for the curiosity of it. It's in that sort of, you've got the King's Parade on the 5th of January and King's Day the 6th. It's a bit of a late kickoff, but I think people will go along and there'll be a good crowd for that. And of course, I really like Atleti this season. I think they're the most fun team to watch. And I think anyone that spent time with me over the past couple of years will know how much of a huge fan I am of Anton Griezmann. Whether he starts or plays, I don't know. And I've got a bit of a soft spot for Marcos Llorente as well. So there's plenty there's plenty of good players to see in that Atleti team. So should be a good night. And obviously Marbella are there after they beat Burgos, who Malaga have taken on this week. There you go. I've just got the prices actually, just really quickly. They sort of, all the seats in the stand, the most expensive in the Tribuna is 50 euros. So Malaga season ticket holder gets that 25. And yeah, the cheapest general public entry is 30. So Malaga season ticket holder get 15. And your Malaga season ticket holder, I've just noticed you can get in the VIP boxes for just €100. That's fun, isn't it? Or just one other little bit of Malaga adjacent news I thought I'd bring up while we're talking about the Copa del Rey. Of course, in the summer, Ruben Castro, of course, his last act in professional football was to get relegated with Malaga. I still say I don't put much blame on him. I know some Malaga fans are not too keen on him. And, you know, it's really sad, I think, that his final act in football, you know, this glittering career of, you know, he's the top goal scorer in the history of the Spanish Segunda. If you combine the two leagues together, La Liga, I believe he's still third on the list behind Cristiano Ronaldo and Leo Messi. It's, you know, it's a great career, but he could have one last hurrah, and I think he should. I think he should go out on a high, and he has the chance to go out on one of the highest of highs, because apparently Deportivo Minera, sorry, are looking to sign him, and apparently he's thinking about the offer. For those that don't know, Deportivo Minera is near Cartagena, which I know Ruben Castro played there, so I don't know if he's based in that area still. But, you know, the big headline for them is they have a Copa del Rey game coming up. And, you know, Marbella might have Atletico Madrid, but Minera have Real Madrid at home. So, you know, one last hurrah for Ruben Castro would be nice. Anyway, let's get on to the review of the Burgos game. Not many hurrahs here, to be honest with you. It wasn't actually, when I watched the highlights back again this morning, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was. It was not an awful 0-0, but not that eventful either. Shout out, you know, as always, we give a shout out to the Malaga traveling fans. It looked very cold up in Burgos, and, you know, we're warm climate people down here in the south of Spain. Even I've been cold this past week, with the temperature on the Costa del Sol hitting the lows of 18 and 19. And I've sort of struggled with that and put my big coat on. But also a big shout out to some friends of mine who were at the game. I'm sure some of you will know this story, or the people I'm about to reference, because I received a tweet off a very sort of quiet and not used very often Twitter account asking, was I going to the game? I didn't follow this account. It didn't have many followers. I let them know I was not going to the game. Very sadly, I'd work the next day, and they replied very nicely, "We hope to see you again soon." That made me to look through some of their tweets, and then I pieced it all together. It was one of the lads who are friends with Joaquin Gabilondo, and the ones I christened the Joaquin Gabilondo fan club, aka the people that were singing my name at Baracaldo. Of course, I'm going to mention that when I've got the podcast to myself, but I did see they got on the pitch and had photos with Joaquin again, not during the match, of course, after the match. Yeah, so shout out to those guys in case they're listening, because they're very nice and very fun people. So it was good to see them make the game as well. There's perhaps one other person we were very excited to see make the game, and that does link to the starting 11, because Ramon Enriquez was not on the bench this time. He was in the starting 11, and not only was he in the starting 11, he was captain, just as he was when he sort of made his starting comeback around March, April last season against Merida, when we were very excited he was captain. So it's evident he is the club captain, because I wasn't 100% sure if Herrero had been upgraded, but it feels a little harsh on Herrero, I think. But, you know, your club captain's your club captain, and knowing the great guy Alfonso Herrero is, I'm sure he very much supported Ramon taking the armband off him. So it's great to see Ramon back in, you know, obviously courtesy of Manu Molina being suspended. Another name back in the team sheet or in the starting 11 was Antonito, who was starting for the first time, I think, since October, off the top of my head, and, you know, early October as well. I think that's partly down to Kevin not being available. There's my one Kevin mention. So he sort of came in for him, which was again a bit of a a boost because I guess we would have probably guessed Ramani coming in instead of Antonito because he's been sort of phasing Antonito out, which has made us more suspicious that Antonito will go. And yeah, the interesting one, which I didn't really notice till quite late in the game actually, because they feel quite interchangeable these days, was Einar and Pastor playing at centre back with Monte rested after I gave Nelson Monte my Biznaga the last game. So, but those three I think have all been pretty reliable throughout the season. So no qualms for me. And, I'm going to give a bit of praise to one of them, especially later. So without further ado, we'll get into talking about the game. But first, to give my voice a rest and to give your ears a rest from my voice, we're going to go over to Luke and Nick now, who have left like individual voice messages, just giving their general review of the game. And then I'll go through some of the match points, and then I've got them to do their Chumbo and Biznagas at the end too. So let's hear from the lads.
Hi everybody, sorry I can't be on the show tonight, but the British wire industry requires my assistance. I'm sure Matt's doing a fantastic job on his own. Going back to Burgos Sunday afternoon, not a great game for anybody really. It's a point on the road, it's a clean sheet. There was positives, one of those positives being a fantastic 60 minutes from Ramon, who skippered the team. Besides that, David Orubia smashed the crossbar from 20 yards. In a game that lacked chances for both teams, I didn't personally think that Burgos was a very good team. And on another day, Malaga could have took 3 points. And I do see this as a bit of a letdown that we didn't take the 3 points. But we all know our problems. We cannot put the ball in the back of net. I just hope it's going to catch us up one day. But yeah, positives taken to Eldense Wednesday night into La Rosaleda in what really is a must-win game for Malaga. Eldense sitting blowers in the league, and just before the new year turn, this will be a vital 3 points, moving us up the league and steadying us away from that relegation zone.
If there was ever such a treat for the GearyCast listener, it is a Matt Harrison solo show, a Vamos midweek, so to speak. But yeah, apologies, I am not available to talk about the Burgos game this weekend at El Plantillo. Sickness has struck the Bell household, in which man, woman and child have all been affected. In terms of what to say about the Burgos match, there isn't really too much to add. This is two teams that have come up against each other that have found scoring hard to come by as of late, and it appears to be just a reoccurrence of the same themes we've been discussing for the past few weeks now. I can see the positives in getting another point on the road. It is another point, but I saw a fascinating stat this week which shows that Malaga is currently the highest team in Europe in the top two leagues to accumulated points via draws. And as much as it's a good thing, it can also be a bad thing because there are teams below us picking up 3 points. And for me, Burgos being where they are at the minute and the form that they've been in as of late, we could have really done with a win here. The same could be said for Eldense midweek as well. So, yeah, it was great to see Ramon, not to turn this into a complete, utter negativity fest, but it was great to see Ramon back on the pitch, captain the side, getting an hour under his belt. If we can keep him fit and keep him moving, he'd be essentially like a new signing for the second half of the season. Larrubia, great again. That shot that he had against the crossbar, I'm pretty sure it's still rattling up in Castile and Leon. And I suppose the only thing to take away from this is imagine where Malaga would be if we had a goal scorer. Also worth noting here, and I'm sure it's already been mentioned, Chipetti scored this weekend. So read into that what you may. But yeah, I hope everyone has a lovely Christmas anyway. Keep your eye out for a Sporting Gijón preview later on the week, and we'll see you soon. Thank you.
There you go. This is why I need my boys around me, because I have not mentioned that Chupete scored for Atletico Malagueño again this past weekend. So that box is now ticked. Get him in. It was nice of the boys to start like both of those spiels by saying, apologies, they can't be here, etc. But listening, that is the first time I've listened to that recording. I thought I'd try and create a sort of air of authenticity with this podcast, but yeah, they didn't sound too bothered about missing it. It was neither seemed to be too enthralled with this game, and I suppose rightly so. There was not too much to have a song and dance about, really. I thought Burgos made that sort of fly-in start to the game where they pretty much attacked in the first minute, and in a way, I think it's bread and butter now for Alfonso Herrero, but he made a great save in the first minute where they broke down the left and the ball went across the box, and their attacker cut in and took a shot through quite a few like bodies, including our defense, and it was going in the corner, and he got down very quickly and sort of just put his hands on it. Didn't like palm it away, but I thought it was a little bit sort of underrated save in a way. Maybe it was the wrong angle, and maybe I saw him more favorably from the one like sort of angle on TV. But yeah, obviously we talked about on the podcast last week, El Plantillo is a ground that's got quite a reputation. It looked very cold there, but it's a crowd. It's quite a fiery crowd, and it felt like that for the first 5 minutes. But then I think generally Malaga sort of took control of the game without, to be fair, like we're doing this podcast. Oh, I was going to say I'm doing this podcast tonight. And to be honest with you, I could have gone back and copy and pasted sections from previous podcasts, couldn't I? Because I'm going to say, we controlled the game but created little. There was that run down the wing in the first, I think it was the 5th or 6th minute, where Labete really did well and got through. And I was a bit disappointed at the time. And when I watched it back again today, I'm even more disappointed because he broke into the box from the right. Dione was sort of screaming for it, but not really free, that the pass was definitely on. And Labete did make that little bit of room for himself. He sort of did a few cutting in, cutting out, cutting in. And then I think he just knackered himself out and sort of swung his shot. And I can't remember if it went out for a throw-in, but it did go across the goal. But yeah, to be honest with you, I thought we were controlling the game. And for me, weirdly this time, I thought Labete was the one that looked perhaps the most dangerous of the ones in attack. Not that he was hugely effective all the time, but I think, as Nick mentioned then, David Larrubia has just found this grafting role, and he was excellent again at that. But I think he maybe wasn't as magical with some of his play, but again, could not fault his effort. I thought Antonito was really quiet actually, and was a bit of a disappointment for me actually, because obviously we've said on the podcast, we don't know if he's going to be here after January. Let's try and get as much out of him as possible now. And I expected him to react to not start in these games, but not that he did anything too wrong. But yeah, just wasn't quite happening for me. And the one thing I would say, we did seem to get quite a lot of set pieces. And I always say, Manu Molina and Antonito are like usually great from corners. And obviously Manu Molina, didn't play in this game. But yeah, I think there was one really decent corner, but the rest were, not up to his usual standard, I thought. And I think I was thinking from free kicks, we never really looked like we're going to score from free kicks. And again, forgive me, I can't remember who has taken every single free kick, but Carlos Purga seems to be a guy that can whip in a ball. I think I'd get him on them. I think he might have taken one or two, but definitely want to see a bit more of him on set pieces, because he does put in a lovely cross, which perhaps I'll come back to later. But yes, I guess the main sort of talking point from the first half, from a Malaga point of view at least, is as Nick mentioned, David Larrubia hitting the crossbar with a lovely shot. And to be fair, David Larrubia over the past few games and this game, he's been looking for that shot so much, where he sort of cuts in from the right and sort of does a bit of a little jig and then swings his foot around it. And he's had a couple which have gone wide, but this was the sweetest hit one by a distance. And as soon as he left his foot, I was sure he was in. The goalie was beaten. And yeah, as Nick said, it did rattle that bar quite a lot. And yeah, that first half, there was quite a nice Burgos corner routine, which sort of opened us up. And they had a great chance where the guy down the left put it across goal, and the attacker stuck a toe out and should have really scored, but sort of towed it. Well, just carried it on his way out, really. But he should have done better with that. Of course, in the second half, they did get the ball in the net, but thankfully, it became clear very quickly that it was offside, and it was, it didn't take VAR very long. One replay it must have been, and yeah, their attack, I think they had two of them offside. One of them headed it in the far corner from across. I think it was probably the one time Pastor and Einar were sort of, caught out in the air, but of course they're not really caught out because the guy was standing ahead of them where he shouldn't have been. So yeah, I thought those two were great at the back. Of course, we said as well that the headline was Ramon Enriquez, the El Capitano. I was going to say El Skipper then. I think I prefer El Skipper. I don't think there's a Spanish equivalent of skipper. Skipero? No, that's El Skipper. Yeah, I was really happy with his comeback. I remember last season in the game he came off the bench in the second half, which I think I messed up, actually. I think I said it was Merida when he started the game. When I'm starting to debate now, was that the game when he came off the bench? And I think I described on the podcast last season as the best 45 minutes anyone played in a Malaga shirt last year. I'm starting to think, was that a bit hyperbolic? Because Alfonso Herrero did do some miracle stuff, but the point was there. He was brilliant that time, and in this game, I thought he was good. I thought he was very neat and tidy. He kept the the play going. He perhaps a little bit more conservative than we've seen him before. Like Manu Molina likes to spray those passes, and I think Ramon can do that, but better. There wasn't much of that. I thought it was good for him to make his comeback, playing alongside Luismi, who, protected him really well and certainly protected the Malaga defense well. He was really getting involved. So, yeah, well done to Ramon for, a successful comeback. Obviously, we're all a bit nervy and there's trepidation about will he hold up? But no, he looked confident out there, and long may that continue. Of course, as we've mentioned already, we're playing El Dense a couple of days later. Manu Molina would be back, so I'm assuming Ramon will be rested for that, or maybe we'll get 10 minutes at the end. So we'll see what happens there. I've mentioned him already just in that last bit about his heroics last season. Let's give the obligatory shout out to Alfonso Herrero, who did make a few good saves in this game. Again, it was that one when Burgos broke through around the 80th minute and he got down low with his feet and blocked it. I know it's quite, I don't know, is his standard? Do other goalies do this? I don't know anymore. But yeah, he played his part in this, and I thought made some important saves and important contributions, just looked his usual self. So, tick that box. San Alfonso Herrero praised. Another player I'm going to give a little bit of love to, because we don't give him much love. Dione wasn't up there again for me, but we brought Rocco off the bench, and I'm not saying he was hugely involved, but he did have a bit more about him, I felt, in this. I think it was perhaps the best we've seen him play since the opening game against Racing Ferrol, where I thought he was quite good in there. He did almost score with a header, and it was a very good header, actually, from quite awkward and sort of like almost put in the bottom corner. It was quite far out. Again, I've mentioned it earlier, Carlos Burga put a brilliant ball in, and it was perfect, actually, for Rocco to header. And you could see on Rocco's face after not maybe he should have done better, because I think he did really well in it, but it was a good enough header that I think he must have thought it was going in at one point. And, the goalie got down low pretty quickly, actually. But, yeah, Dione's not happening. we're sort of just cycling around these three now to see if one of them can find their sort of goal scoring mojo. And, as we've already talked about, Chupete, why aren't we giving him a go? But who knows, maybe El Dense is the time for Chupete, because there's no Atletico Malagueño game. Be interesting to see if he gets a chance then. But I'm not totally against seeing Rocco come back in instead of Dione, because Dione's not happening for me again. But I think we need the transfer window to be opened very quickly for us. Obviously, we've only got 2 more games left before it does open. So striker, please, Mr. Quique Perez or Loren. I always forget which one's in charge of that department. But yeah, not an absolute thriller, not an awful game. It did absolutely reek of 0-0. Probably after David Larrubia hit the crossbar, I thought, I can see where this is going. But yeah, 0-0 seemed fair. I think they may have had the slightly better chances, apart from us, hitting the bar. But I think we probably had more of the play, more control in the middle of the park. But we've said this stuff before, so we'll get into our Jumbo and Biznagas. And I am going to say a we this time, because I'm going to invite the voices of Luke Chambers and Nick Bell back to tell me their Jumbo first, and then I shall offer mine up.
Chumbo, unsurprisingly, quite a simple one for me. Somebody I didn't expect to be given a Chumbo to, as I'm a huge fan of himself, but I thought Antonito were poor. I didn't think he looked interested in the game. He didn't offer any attacking threat, which he usually does. Besides that, 1 or 2 other players could have taken it, but I just think Antonito on his day is that good. He's vital to the team whilst he's wearing the blue and white stripes of Malaga, but on this day I thought he was very, very poor. So Chumbo for me is Antonito.
A Chumbo for this week, same as usual weeks. I think at the minute, unfortunately, we're sending 10 men out to play an 11-man game, and our strikers are going for a walk. I don't see where we can go with this. Dione has got an hour under his belt there and not really made too much effect on the game, in my opinion. But then, you turn to the bench and think, right, who can we replace this person with? Oh, let's bring Rocco on. So I don't know whether we can do joint Chumbos, maybe a double Chumbo for Christmas, but those 2 striking options for me are simply not good enough, unfortunately. And it tells, not just for our lack of goals in general, but also the fact that we don't seemingly have anyone able to target a cross with or get onto the end of a ball, which is sad to see. So yeah, Chumbos, Dione and Rocco.
Oh, well, there you go, Rocco. I defended you a little bit, but Nick Bell's not having it. But to be honest with you, the Dione, Antonito were the 2 I had down as well. They were sort of my Chumbo and dishonourable mention. But yeah, Dione just edged it for me, because I saw Antonito try some stuff, I felt. But yeah, they were my 2. They were the 2. There was no one else that really jumped out at me as like being really bad that I can think of. They were all sort of 6 out of 10s. But yeah, those 2 weren't great at all. So let's go over to the lads again and hear their Biznagas.
Biznaga after a 0-0 draw, usually a hard one to give. I do have a couple of honourable mentions. I thought Carlos Puga had a really good game again. Alex Pastor looked solid at the back. Luithme gave the usual 8 out of 10. And of course, Don Alfonso doing his stuff. But for me, this week's Biznaga is El Capitano, Ramon. I thought he had a very, very good game in there. Kept things simple, but that's what Ramon does when he's looking his best. And if we can keep Ramon fit and in that centre midfield alongside Manu Molina and Luithme, I can only see this Malaga team going from strength to strength. This week's Biznaga for me is El Capitano, Ramon.
Biznaga is usually a lot more easier to pick when you've won a game 3-0. This game was just a bit of a damp squib for me. I think 2 teams which didn't fancy it. But there's obviously some positives to always pick out when we are a positive podcast after all. So I think Larrubia is just carrying on his good form at the minute, going strength to strength. And you can see that he's really, really confident at the moment. Same with Carlos Puga. He's brilliant, and he's really nailing down that right back position for himself. But you can't come back from injury the way that Ramon has come back from injury, play 60 minutes of quality football, just doing the simple stuff as well, which is more important. So yeah, absolutely great to see him back out on the pitch. My biznaga of this week is Ramon.
Okay, great. I'm glad Ramon got those guys biznaga, because I had him on my honourable mentions, but I thought they were better contributors there. But I sort of understand, the perhaps the narrative of him coming back, adding to that, and rightly so, I think, as well. I think that's a fair enough reason to give him more points in this game. So yeah, he was one of my mentions because, like I said earlier, and Nick's just said, just simple, nice and tidy, and there must be a bit of, I don't know, like a mentality thing with him as well, coming back from injury and having broken down a couple of times. So yeah, that's great for him. To be honest with you, I think Luke listed all my other sort of honourable mentions. Carlos Burgos again, who is really, really finding his feet. I said the Joaquin Gabilondo fan club were there. They must have been worried for their boy Joaquin, the way Carlos Burgos is playing at the moment. It's gonna take a lot to take his place. Although sure, Joaquin did come on and did carry on what Carlos Burgos was doing, actually. Yeah, it was a toss-up for me, and I'm still not fully decided. I think the lads might have decided. The two I can choose between were Pastor, who I thought was excellent, just, did exactly what Nelson Monte did last week. But I'm going to give it to Luismi, because I think Ramon playing so well on his comeback is perhaps down to Luismi just being like just Luismi-ish, basically, just doing basics right, getting stuck in. Of course, he got a yellow card. Yeah, because I don't think he's not the sort of player I notice so much, particularly perhaps when I'm in La Rosaleda and, your eyes, turn towards Kevin and David La Rubia. And I've made a big point recently. I've been sort of watching Manu Molina a lot closer and really enjoying watching him play this season. So maybe I miss out on Luismi and, the sort of quieter work he does. But I really noticed it this game. So I'm going to say my biznaga is Luismi. So, but yeah, that midfield too, I guess, of Ramon and Luismi. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see, if Ramon can stay fit, how we handle that dynamic. There's obviously rotation all the time, but, Luismi's had a great season, and Ramon and Manu are different but very similar players. So we'll see who steps up there. Of course, different ages or different ends of the age spectrum in regards of centre midfielders too. So that'll be quite an interesting thing to see what happens. But there you go, guys. We made it to the end. Well done if you've made it this far with and just with my voice, which is more nasally than normal, actually, because I do have a bit of a cold as well. So I'm jumping on that bandwagon. So yeah, I would tell you where Malaga are in the league at the moment, but I think it's changed while I've been recording, because there were Segunda games going on tonight. So when I looked at the table before pressing record, we were 14th, but I think that was impacted by games coming on, because I'm sure we started this new match day 15th. But so, yeah, I don't know if Luke's got a little bit soon with must-win game against El Dense. It does feel very important. Obviously, by the time you listen to this, we'll be very close to that game kicking off, I imagine. But yeah, we're 4 points above the relegation zone, and El Dense are that club that occupies that last relegation spot. So yeah, I do think it's a very important game tomorrow. But yeah, I think after New Year, I'll start considering what must win, etc. But yeah, so thank you for bearing with me tonight and bearing with us as well, because it is still going to be a bit messy at the moment. So like we said, we've got 2 games coming up in the next week. We're probably not going to have a preview pod for Sporting Gijon, because I'm off to Madrid this weekend, by the way. That's going to be fun. I was going to go watch the mighty, even though I don't like the Real Madrid, but I couldn't get a ticket in the end. It was very popular Sevilla game, but I'm quite happy because that means I've saved myself the 75 euros for the cheapest ticket for Real Madrid, and I can invest that ticket money in a much cheaper ticket to go watch Leganés on Sunday afternoon. And not only is Alex Ashmore going to be there, but, obviously the goal that day is to meet Super Pepino. That will be, what's that, 3 days before Christmas, and you're meeting Super Pepino. Wow. That's like, cucumber Santa Claus. I'm sure maybe he'll have a Santa hat. What a time to be alive that will be if that happens. I think this might be the one time I do chase the mascot to try and get some interaction with him. But yeah, basically what I'm trying to say there is I'm busy for a bit as well. So we do have a bit of a crackpot idea of how to do the review this week. If we go through with that idea, apologies again. It involves a lot of my voice. But if you've made it this far, you must quite like nasal Welsh tones. But yeah, we'll see. Anyway, so well done if you've made it this far. Of course, we'll be doing something over like the sort of the gap between Christmas and King's Day and the restart of Malaga's season after the winter break. We've got a bit of a plan for like a special episode, but we'll try and get something Christmassy out before Christmas Day. But just in case, Feliz Navidad. Thank you for listening. It has been a pleasure, apart from my voice, which I can feel is going now. It's the end of the teaching year. My voice is at its end anyway. So, the teaching term. So I'll say thank you, guys. Adios. And as always, vamos Malaga.